We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Happy Friday, good evening, and welcome to another episode here on the Hearts of Men podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about breaking free from toxic parents, 5 steps to take your life back. But before we do that, we're going to introduce the panel. My name is The Uncle Junior. I also go by the Consistency Coach. Right next to me, the head chief, the head honcho, the Mindset Coach, Mr. Dwayne Dwyer, also known as Go Dogs, and at the bottom, son of Timothy, the available man, and he's a Giants fan. So that's all the acknowledgement he get from me because the Cowboys and Giants play this weekend, and I got my hat on and I'm repping. He got his hat on and he repping. But before we do that, gentlemen, how y'all doing? Go Dogs, go Giants, all those good things like that.
I'm good, man. Like I say, Friday, I'm excited. I always look forward to having these conversations. And you know, great week. And we get to end it having conversation with each other in the livest chat on social media. So I have zero to complain about.
There you go.
Hey, first off, go Big Blue. Secondly, yeah, same. I echo my big brother's sentiments. It's Friday. I'm on here with my brothers. We got the livest chat. I know they're about to go in on this conversation, so I'm locked in.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that, man. I'm glad to be here. Hadn't been here for the last couple of weeks. It's football season, so if y'all been here for a couple of years, around this time, I'm doing Friday night football, different things like that. I kind of didn't want to go to tonight's game. Sometimes it's too far away, and plus I wanted to be over here. So with that being said, definitely appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Again, we always know that it's Friday night. Some of y'all have had long weeks just like we have, and you guys could be laying in the bed watching TV. Well, some of y'all might be, but at the end of the day, y'all decided that y'all want to be here tonight, and we definitely appreciate that. Like I said, we understand that people have long weeks and you guys could be anywhere else, but at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you guys are here and you guys are locked in with us. And with that being said, we want to make sure that we thank you for being here and acknowledge the people who are here tonight, name by name. If I miss anybody, I apologize. I may not see all of the comments. Actually, you know what? Because I'm over here on YouTube. Let me jump over here to the comment section. That way I can see everybody on all the different platforms. So again, welcome to tonight's podcast, Breaking Free from Toxic Parents, 5 Steps to Take Your Life Back. So with that being said, welcome to the show. His divine appointment, Samurai J. I like that name. Renewed consideration. Appreciate you for being here this afternoon. Nick D, always welcome. Appreciate everything you do during the show, behind the scenes, in the chat, all of those good things. Definitely appreciate you for that. Miss Charlotte Jordan, Mom, appreciate you for being here. Who else? I think I said Crystal Everett. If I didn't, I got another shout out to you. The Chosen One. Who else?
I want the knife.
I want the knife.
Golden Child, man.
Oh. I never saw that movie, but I know about it. That's it, man. I'll tell you why, man. Again, appreciate everybody for being, man. I never got to see it, man. When we was growing up, Charlotte Jordan, they ain't let us watch nothing. If it wasn't anything secular we wasn't really allowed to watch. So I missed all of those late 70s and early shows and movies and different things like that. I didn't see a lot of those things until I got older. Y'all set? Y'all ready to go?
Yeah, man, you ain't gonna get me to say nothing against Miss Charlotte Jordan. What's wrong with you? I know
Not at all.
sir.
Did I click that button? Who clicking
I
buttons?
have no idea.
I don't think it's me. Oh, here we go. It might have been me. Hey, so at the end of the day, I do not have a opening monologue or anything like that. So again, we're talking about breaking free from toxic parents. But before we do, I want to get started with a couple of definitions. One of the things I want to talk about is manipulating parenting, and that is the use of guilt, fear, shame, or control to get children to behave in ways that serve the parent's needs rather than the child's growth. And I will say what makes it kind of stand out right here to me, definitely want you guys' opinion on this definition, is the parent's needs rather than the child's growth. So what do you guys think about this definition? We cool with it? Right. So moving up, ish. What we
Ish.
talking about?
Because the definition focuses on the child's growth, which gives the impression that manipulative parenting end when the child becomes an adult. Wrong.
I like that. I like that ad. I like that ish.
That was gonna be my first question when you asked your first question.
What was that?
Were we limited it to childhood parenting?
I don't think so. Well, absolutely. I will say I don't think so. I'm going to say a hard no. We're not limited to child parenting, adult parenting as well.
Yeah, so I'm with Coach on this one then. Yeah.
All right. The next definition that we have up here is emotional blackmail. So emotional blackmail, when love, approval, or affection is withheld unless the child complies with demands. You ain't going to get this unless you sit your behind down. Emotional blackmail. Maybe no, well, hold up. That ain't the same thing. That ain't the same thing. I retract that statement. That is not the same thing.
See, I see this one more in the adult. That's why I asked that question.
Okay.
I know we're gonna dive into that, so I get,
All right. Well, here's the deal. We can, like I said, all children are on the table. Even us, Miss Charlotte Jordan. What'd she say? I took him to see Candyman by mistake. The next definition we have is healing. Healing, excuse me, the process of recognizing, unlearning, and replacing toxic cycles with healthy boundaries and self-awareness.
I can go with that. But definitely more to follow.
Yeah, especially with the unlearning part. I think that's part of it, but not all of it. Definitely the unlearning piece. All right, I'm cool with the definition. Y'all ready to jump into the first question of the night?
Let's do it.
All right, chat. Here we go. Here's the first question of the night. If you guys have anything, feel free to hit that like button, share it, ask questions. That's what we are here for. We're here to serve at the end of the day. And it's Friday night, and we got a whole bunch of stuff that we're ready to serve up. We got a plate full of food over here. So with that being said, what are some subtle signs of manipulating parenting that men might overlook? Where's my Jeopardy music at? Where's that button?
I don't know. Because you said that men might overlook. So it is.
You can adjust. You can adjust the question however you want to do it.
I think so. If we start with children, and this is just me speaking. I think sometimes the overuse of affection and presence in children can be the beginning of when we talk about manipulative parenting. I think we can get our children addicted to affection, to that emotional response to everything. Um, that can, in the long term, lead to the doors being open to be, as you brought up earlier, emotionally manipulated, right? So, and I'm not. I know a lot of parents out there that love to hold their kids, hug their kids, be up under their kids all the time. But I do believe that children need to have a space that they can process and be children and play, where we're not necessarily up under them all the time. Of course, I'm not talking about infants, but that's a sign to me.
I think because again, manipulation is manipulation is manipulation, right? So I kind of want to start there. And so when you look at the signs of manipulation, it's almost like, quid pro quo, things of that nature. If you do this, then you can get that, right? But then some people say, well, that's like a reward based system, right? But by that same token, if it's a reward based system, are they doing it for the reward, or are they doing it because they actually respect you as a parent? And so that by itself can actually lead to some type of misunderstanding within the child. Um, you know, Coercion. I will also, I hate to go this route, but the threatening of physicality, I'll say it that way, the threatening of physicality if you don't, right? That is a version, believe it or not, of manipulation. Now, there are times where I believe that is warranted, but then I also believe that we have to measure that with a grain of salt, and that should not always be the answer when it comes down to me communicating with my child, me convincing my child, not convincing, but me helping my child to understand the difference between right and wrong. That's really an aspect of me being a parent, teaching them the difference between right and wrong so that they can actually make the decision. So if I don't do the work on this side, punishing them on this side when I don't necessarily do the work, I mean, that's not necessarily their fault. That's my fault. Um, I think too many times, going back to the whole manipulation piece, I think we can clearly identify it in the space of interpersonal relationship between male and female, and then we don't necessarily identify it in the space of relationship between parent and child. So if it exists in the space of relationship, right, between male and female, it has to also exist in the space of relationship between parent and child. Because at the end of the day, like I said in the beginning, manipulation is manipulation is manipulation. If I withhold this because I want you to do that, that is called manipulation. Now, I get it. I understand what punishment looks like. If you don't behave in accordingly, then we take this from you. But you knew that before going into that behavioral cycle, right? So we put it up front, right? Punishment is not a bad thing. But I also believe that there's other ways to teach a child a lesson when it comes down to this particular behavioral style without taking stuff from them. But I land right there because I'm sure that's going to spark some concern.
I definitely can rock with all of the perspectives and different things you had. When I look at this, I didn't necessarily see necessarily a man or female thing. I looked at it from a parental side. But with that being said, I see it at the high school. And as I think about this thing that I'm going to say, I can see it being used very early on in life. And that thing is, when a child is young and you say, hey, you know what? Grandma went to, great grandma went to Georgia. Grandma went to Georgia. Daddy went to Georgia. Uncle went to Georgia. Now, when little baby growing up, he in third grade. What? And somebody asked, hey, little Dwayne, what you gonna do when you grow up? I'm going to Georgia. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I see that. I see that in the high school where kids, have been manipulated to think that they have to go down a certain path. And the reason why one of the key words in this question was the word subtle. And I think that's a very subtle way that parents manipulate sometimes, is that they put in their head, in the kid's head, what they want them to do and how they want them to what their outcome is. My baby going to the army. The baby 2 years old, because he got a water gun. You know what I mean? He could put your lipstick under his eyes. You know what I mean? He going to the army now, in his whole life he got this dream. Not saying that it's wrong, but I am saying that sometimes those are ways subtly that we manipulate our kids. And when that parent that is always that dad that's always on that son about, man, get out there and play football and trying to live through their kids and stuff like that. I think those are sometimes those subtle ways that parents manipulate kids and stuff like that. What do y'all think about any of that, or anything that y'all want to add to what you guys were saying?
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what Coach is saying as well. Actually, you know what? I don't have a comment on what Coach said. I have a question then on what Coach said.
We like questions over here.
Because it's not that it brings up a concern, right? Because I'm not really the type to get concerned. I ask questions because my thought process goes, if what you say is true, then what about this? Like, how do we full circle this? So for me, I'm listening to Coach. I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking in my head, well, in that spectrum, because manipulation is manipulation at all times, then are we saying that not all manipulation is quote unquote bad manipulation?
I think to make that assumption would be far reaching. For something to not be manipulation, it has to be something that takes place. Something has to take place on the front side of it, right? So it's like saying you have a job, the parameters of your job. They make you aware of the things that you should and should not do, generally when you get that job. So when you step out of line of that job, now you've opened the door for them to exercise some degree of punitive action according to that job. Same thing applies to parenting. If we talked about it up front, I shared with you the difference between right and wrong. When you step into the realm of wrong, the first time might be a conversation, a stern talking to, but the continuation of it, like, you kind of asked for it. You kind of, went into the realm of that. My concern is that when we do not have the conversation up front, when we do not teach the difference between right and wrong, when we allow the internet to teach our child the lessons that we were supposed to be teaching, but we fail to do it, when we look at the amount of time that your child spent in front of a video game as opposed to sitting down talking to you so they can learn from you the difference between right and wrong, then in that aspect, now you want to punish, but you fail to parent. That's kind of like my perspective when it comes down to it.
So, and so what I'm thinking about, right? I'm thinking about in the training stage, right? Now, of course, as I don't spank little babies, right? But we've all been pop pinched, or got our attention grabbed somehow, some way from big mama, auntie, somebody when we were small. For me, that was always a redirection tactic, right? You get the pop, that was a redirection tactic. When I began parenting, of course, that's when I started hearing about the whole, well, use the reward system instead of timeouts, instead of, my daddy put us on the wall. You stared at that wall till you thought about what was going on while you got that butt whooping, right? But it was like, oh, instead of doing that, or instead of putting them on timeout, or instead of popping them or spanking them, try the reward system. And I've always heard that being taught to young parents in the training stage. So that's what made me think, like, okay, so then can it be a such thing as quote unquote good? And I'm putting the good or bad in front of it. And I'm not even assuming that we're saying that manipulation is bad or good. I'm just trying to, clarify that part, because I've tried both. Now, of course, I've got more results with the popping than I did with the this or that, because you learn to live without something when it comes to doing what you want to do. But
And I kind of want to add that before you respond to that, Coach. And I'm thinking it's right along the lines of this too, because I got further questions about this too. I want to know more. Is there a fine line between manipulating and parenting your kids? Because at the end of the day, we're putting information in them because we want a certain result from that. I put certain things in my son because I want to manipulate them to where they can behave in school, to where I can manipulate them so they can use critical thinking to make decisions. But is that manipulating? Is that teaching? And where is that line at? You know what I mean? And that kind of goes back to what Son of Timothy, I think, is talking about too. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking that both of what we're talking about is kind of intertwined.
Right. So the line is drawn in the definition. Manipulation is so it works in my favor. Training
But
is so,
it can work in their favor.
Wait,
Okay.
hold on. Let me finish.
Okay.
Training is so it works in their favor. So if training works in their favor, I don't avoid the necessary work on the front side as a parent and then get mad at them when, oh, I got to go to the school. I got to take off from my good paying job and go to the school to see about you because you acting up. Well, mom and dad, if you did the training on the front side, then maybe, and I stress maybe, I'm not saying this is all the time, right? Maybe they wouldn't be acting up. So now at that point in time, the punishment is more so manipulation because I'm focused on the fact that I have to leave my job to come and see about you as opposed to putting in the work on the front side to train you so that you can be better. That's the thing that makes it manipulation. Again, manipulation is always working in my favor, not necessarily working in their favor.
Oh, the definition. That clears it up. That clears it up. The freaking definition, man.
So there's a gray area, though.
Huh?
There's a gray area, even with the definition.
Is it?
So, and
not to me, not if one is focused on that and one is if manipulation is focused on me and training is focused on my child, then if what I'm teaching them is to get a certain outcome and it's in the betterment of them, then that's training.
But it benefits
what I'm
me.
doing now. I do think. Well, now go ahead.
But it benefits me as well.
How so?
I think it can benefit me as well too.
I gotta hear this.
Focus is not on me.
I gotta hear. Let's go back to the it benefits me part.
I was reading the chats, right? And so I'm trying not to jump on toes, but Samurai J put a comment up talking about it starts with single parents. I don't disagree with his statement, but he makes a statement about single parents manipulating their children to fulfill certain aspects that a spouse would. Example, daughter taking on duties within the household that a wife would normally do. Right? That may benefit a single father, right? Raising girls. Right? He gets the benefit of not having to do the dishes after feeding the family, or her having. Now my sisters in my daddy household did certain things because he said he wasn't raising lazy women. He wanted them to be wise. Now I don't know how that played out in the long run, but the way I always thought about that was because even my son does chores around the house, but I want him to learn how to take care of his own home when he get out the house. I feel like that's training, but that's one less room I gotta clean when he cleans the bathroom or when he does the dishes. I ain't got to do it. All I got to do is cook, feed, and they do their chores. I get a benefit, but it's also I'm using it to train them. So that makes sense.
Sure, you're talking about the duality of a thing, right? But I'm talking about the purpose, like your primary reason for doing a thing. There's always duality in anything we talk about, right? So if my reasoning behind doing the thing is train a child up in a way that they should go, then that's to benefit the child. If my reasoning behind doing the thing, because man, I'm tired of cutting this grass, I'm glad that boy turned 16 so I can put him behind that lawnmower. That's totally different. My mindset is warped. And so now what I'm doing is manipulating. Sure, the duality still exists. They will benefit from learning how to cut the grass. But if I do it the right thing, I'm not going to send them out there to cut the grass. We are going to go out there and cut the grass. It's a big difference. So I think just because we can highlight the duality of a thing doesn't make it right. It's like, what is the primary reason that I'm doing this thing?
All of that came together. And I think, again, one word, simplicity, duality. Because I was looking at it the same way, like Gaddy was saying, like if I'm training my child to do what they're supposed to do, hey, make your bed, get your school clothes out. I'm teaching a lot of good things that are going to benefit, but it is also benefit me. But like you said, that's just the duality of it. That's just because of this happens, then this automatically happens. If they clean their own room and they're learning, they're training, that's one less room I got to clean. So I see it because you said duality. It's the duality of it. Yeah, I like that. I like how we
Yeah.
it.
And I think, I can't remember who mentioned, I think His Divine Appointment mentioned it previously. And that was kind of like the flow of what it got to. I think she mentioned I think it was her and Miss Charlotte Jordan mentioned when I'm sorry, I'm still in Samurai J's thunder. It was Samurai J and Miss Charlotte Jordan mentioned when a parent puts a child in a spouse role in the household, right? You're the man of the house, but you're 12 years old. So that's a whole different realm of confusion.
That's I would say confusion. We have a question from Miss Verlene McCoy. Verlene McCoy, appreciate you for your question. The question is this, gentlemen: what if a situation is the father not taking care of those things, and the son has stepped up to the plate, and the dad sees that things are going better with the family with him in control? Yeah, this Gaddy's area right here. This got Gaddy written all on it.
Y'all petty.
I'm letting you go first, bro, because
Hey, I know. That's why I unmuted my mic. I was like, let me get mine out the way.
It's some other things. It's a lot going on right here.
Right. And so, to be fair, I feel like when I see comments like this, that there's a scenario in mind of the writer. So please make no assumption that we are envisioning the same scenario, right, when we read it. So for me, the way I'm seeing this, right, because I make this statement a lot, because what I couldn't stand back in the days, I still can't stand it. I just don't care no more. I couldn't stand that on Mother's Day is all about the mothers. We praise the mothers. But on Father's Day, I don't know if people remember, but for like a good 3-4 year span, it became big for us to praise single mothers for Father's Day. Like, no, I'm mother and father. No, that child does not have a father. And that's just simply what it is. Now we have to learn how to navigate life as that. Whether or not the mother pushed the father out the life, whether or not the father quit, whether or not the father is incarcerated or whatever, you're not mother and father. That child is just void of father at the moment. And we have to be honest before we can even start to take an approach towards working. How do we go forward? When you think that you're mother and father, you think that you're filling a void. You're not filling a void. It's still a void. And that son cannot fill that void, no matter what duties he takes on or whatever you want to say. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough life. He's 12, 13 years old, whatever the case may be. He doesn't have enough. His body is not even prepared to properly defend you, right? Or secure the household at the minimum, right? So when I see these conversations, a lot of times we believe that we can have a replacement or a fix for fatherhood. There is no replacement, no fix for the father being absent, no matter what duties the son takes up. And the same thing for motherhood. But I know that if I say that for motherhood, and I'm not just talking about I'm not talking about in this community on this panel, but I'll have a resounding agreement. That's right. You can't replace the mother. So we have to have that same conversation, the same energy. regardless of what the son does, the house is void of that father.
Well, I do not agree at all with anything that young man just said. But I'm gonna start in a very simplistic way that I know a lot of people aren't going to like to hear. First and foremost, I want to point out in the statement, the son has to step up to the plate. Sorry, there is no plate that the son can step up to that the father was supposed to own. There is only one king. The prince is never the king. I'm sorry. I don't care how we want to construct it. It's not going to happen that way. We made that up in our head, and that became a way of life for us and us alone. It is false. It is a false narrative. Just because your child is doing some chores in the house, well, probably they were supposed to be doing the chores anyway. Now, going back to what Samurai Jay said, he said he wasn't talking about regular chores. He's talking about when you have your children, like take care of your child. That is a parenting flaw. I'm just keeping it real. I got it. I understand, life presented some circumstances, but we need to go back and take a good, hard look in the mirror. And this is why I always say people rush to the finish line too much before they get to the point of understanding who they're getting in relationship with. If said man was lazy, he kind of showed you he was lazy before y'all got married. Sorry, those are the facts, right? All you had to do was pay attention. But a lot of times, and this kind of goes back to what we're talking about, manipulation, right? A lot of times we get married for our own reasons. We don't even look at the reason for marriage and understanding what the entity of marriage is all about. It's like, it's going to change my life. Therefore, I am going to marry this person, or the first person who offered to marry me. Yep, that's right. Fi call me. I'll tell you the truth. So, and I'm not afraid to tell it either. I'm that person. I despise when people try to tiptoe through the tulips when it comes down to telling the truth. Telling the truth runs the risk of offending somebody if they choose to be offended. But at the end of the day, we got to go back and identify the things we did wrong all the way as far back as we can look at it. I go back and identify the things I did wrong as a parent, and Lord knows I did enough of them, right? So as a grandfather, my goal is to help my son not make the same mistakes that I made. That's my desire. Now, whether he listens or not, that's up to him. But that's the thing we need to understand. There is nothing that a male child can do to replace that father in that house. Just because he does a chore does not make him the man of the house. Just because you respond to him trying to make him the man of the house, that does not make him the man of the house. Again, let's go back and look at what we did to put that child in a compromising situation, because at the end of the day, what I'm doing to that child is I'm pitting him against his father, and I don't even realize it.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this, man. I definitely like those perspectives. If I was on a sliding scale, I would probably slide closer to Coach on this one. And the reason being is because, like Coach said, is you look at this situation, talking about the son stepping up to the plate, like like you said, in many cases, we knew what that man was a long time ago. A lot of times people show you who they are, and then we don't want to believe them. And then we believe that, we can put icing on a turd and eat it. And it just don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it was something else that I saw in there too. Oh, here's one. My fault. It was another thing that I thought about too, was I think that in this situation, they're all adults. I'm thinking that the son in this situation is out of the house. And this is just me. This is how my mind working. I'm thinking that there's a mother and then there's a father, an older couple. Let's say they're in their 50s or their 60s or whatever. And dad is not doing what he's supposed to do, or maybe even younger. And the son is helping out in the household, and he stepped up to the plate. He's helping out with bills. He's helping with food and stuff like this. And dad is sitting over here like, man, my son doing all of this other stuff, and I'm not doing it. He's doing it better than me. My thing would be to the dad is, why are you in this situation where why you ain't already on the plate? Why are your son in a situation where he have to step up? You know what I'm saying? So again, it's a lot going on in there that we don't know about. So at the end of the day, we all kind of sort of speculating, but that piece right there that we're not speculating about is the part when we go back to the beginning and somebody picked this guy, and those signs more than likely were there in the beginning. And that's just my 2 cents on it.
And I want to be clear. I don't. My response wasn't directed at any person,
Correct,
because
correct.
what I would tell you is I seen a lot of that when I was younger. I witnessed a lot of that when I was younger. You were being raised in a situation to where you did not want to be in. I'm being transparent. I'm telling you what I've seen. You being raised in a situation that you didn't want to be in. So the first male that says, "Hey, will you marry?" Absolutely, I'm gone. Right. But at the end of the day, you didn't take the time to really learn who this person is and so forth and so on. And then you got in a situation, you had a child from that person. And now what ends up happening is that this person's running the street and you stuck with raising child, boy child at that. So it's like, yeah, I get it. Did I have to do chores in the house? I absolutely did. Right? Do I regret doing those chores? I know I didn't, because it taught me some things I needed as an adult. Right? But can I say that it was done out of necessity or out of training? I can't. I don't know. Right? I think to make a decision would be speculative at this state, but nonetheless, the duality of it worked in my favor. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I don't want to, again, it's not directed at any one person, but we have to get to the point till we recognize that no one can replace the father and no one can replace the mother. I don't care if we found somebody else that was willing to take care of that child as if that's their child. That stepfather is not their father. And whoever is in that stepfather position, they need to be willing to reintroduce that child to their father at a certain point in time, because I think that's the right way of doing things.
I I don't disagree with anything. And for the record, me personally, I think me and Coach said pretty was saying same thing. It was just two different angles led to the same conclusion. To me, no one's replacing the father. If the house is void of a father, it's void of a father. It does. Nobody's playing both roles. All right, the kids can't replace the roles, mother nor daughter. But well, so I don't want to use the word the problem I have, because, well, yeah, the problem I have, because I guess you could say it's a problem, is that when we start to, it sounds like cycles now to me. And so it always brings up the question to me, like, how do we address it here? Because true enough, especially like as coach, you used the example that, you got grown and you took the first man that said, "Will you marry me?" I said yes, and I ran, and he showed you who he was. That is completely true. And a lot of times it was missed, especially in the generation of us who were raised out of the crack epidemic era, right? That is definitely true. Sometimes marriage, relationships, whatever, were our escapes. Um, but then that's cycles. That's cycles. And we continue the same cycles, but it looks different now. Now, because that generation, daddy, you remember the crack epidemic, daddy was either in prison or on the streets doing something for the most part. So we saw these narratives of children stepping in to help the other parent raise the little kids. And I saw a single father had his daughters picking up the little kids, staying at home. They had no child life. They were raising their younger siblings, right? I've seen it, but I feel like, how do we address it in the present? Because it's an issue now that is a part of the makeup of who we are, and it's like, how do we address these things? I think this is why we end up on these endless race war arguments all the time, is because, yes, go talk to somebody so we could deal with this trauma that we dealt with growing up. But now, how do we address the cycle now? Because I don't have no disagreements in anything we said. I just, it's the cycles that has continued. Now, how do we kill that cycle today?
And what I want to add to what Gary is saying, just like it goes all the way back to what we were talking about previously. Where did the cycle begin? Parenting. The cycle always begin with parenting. So it's not that we're saying one generation is completely flawed compared to another generation. If that's what you're hearing, then I ask you not to hear from that lens, because that's not the lens we're talking through. It always begin with parents, whether it is manipulation or training. If training happened, then you won't be so quick to run from the nest, right? That's the thing that happens, because at the end of the day, you should understand that your parents have your best interest at heart, and they're trying to help you to create a plan for your life. But if that didn't happen, I am running, because at the end of the day, I can see that, man, I'm seeing all these other folks, and these folks got parents that is really helping them build infrastructure in their life. And right now, the only thing I'm doing is sweeping, mopping, and cleaning and changing diapers and all that other good stuff. And I ain't got no kids. So I need to go. And I get that. So that's why I say it's not so much as about blaming or pointing fingers or anything of that nature. It's going back and understand where the cycle began. We can look at certain errors and say, okay, this may have happened, but let's go back and understand why it happened, how it happened, and then change it that way, and recognize that parenting is the foundation. And don't get me to start talking about climate and culture. Parenting is the foundation of cultural development. But until we get that, we're going to look at it from the wrong perspective.
Man, we've been chewed on that bone, and I have enjoyed it. I mean, we 42 minutes and we only hit one question. But I say that to say I definitely appreciate, we definitely appreciate all the engagement from the chat. You guys are super awesome. You guys are the most empowered chat on YouTube, all of those good things. So definitely appreciate everybody who's already hit that like button, who's already shared it, saved it, and all those good things. Again, appreciate you for being here this afternoon. Appreciate everything that you guys have said in the chat. You know, there's nothing in there that we take for granted. Appreciate all of it. And again, Miss Verlene McCoy, appreciate you so much. That was a great question. And you see how much how long we went just off of your question. So Dan, like Coach always say, we will derail a whole show for a question, and that question did not derail the show. That question was right up in the right path that we were already on for the show anyway. So again, Ms. Verlene McCoy, appreciate you for that. We're going to move on to the next question, and this next question is not just for us, but it's for everybody in the audience as well. What's one lesson you learned from your upbringing that you had to unlearn as an adult? What is one lesson that you learned from your upbringing that you had to unlearn as an adult?
I just told you. Like literally, that was the lesson. That's why I'm so passionate about that lesson. Because if it's not happening in the home, then you're setting the conditions for a perpetual cycle of mismanaging others in relationships. So what you end up doing is you find a situation, and then you manipulate that situation for as long as that situation allow you, and then you either get out of that situation and get into another situation, and you manipulate that situation, then you get out of that situation and into another situation, and then you become a serial dater, because you have no earthly idea that you are the root cause of the problems that you're experiencing. So the one lesson is the simple fact that it all begins with parenting. And if, and I'm just being transparent, if we can own it as parents, we can own the mistakes that we made as parents, be transparent with our children to help them to understand, like, hey, I didn't do everything right. Right. So I want you to understand that. And if you're open to it, I will share some of the areas where I did not know. Right. But now I know better, and I desire for you to know. If you do that, then I think that changes the aspect. You can't fix the past. That's the key. You cannot change anything from the past. So your over exertion of your presence does not fix the mistakes you made in the past. That is the biggest misconception that we have. However, owning who you were in the past, owning the things that you made, owning the decision that you made, that's totally different. And then from that puts you in a position to where you have an integrous relationship with that child.
Man, I was hoping you kept talking because I was thinking, boy. No, because, and I know that this is a parenting conversation. So my relationship to parenting is a little bit different. Everybody on here, yeah, and I've been transparent down through the years about, what my life looked like as a child. And a lot of times my parents were not involved, especially from the age of 12 on. My mother went to rehab. They wouldn't let us stay with our father so much, so a lot of it was, I would say, if there's a lesson I learned from being a child, as an angry child growing up was that I didn't have to be angry about the past or about the past experiences. I had to learn from them and mature through them. Uh, that was to me that was one of my lessons, that I learned a lesson that a lot of people did not have to learn. Right? I don't know what those lessons are at the time, and to this day I'm still learning from those lessons. I'm still figuring out things about life that I only can see through because of the perspective I have from what I've gone through. So that was the one I wouldn't say I unlearned. I had to, well, I guess would say I unlearned being angry about whatever happened to me, but instead learned how to use it uh, to become a better version of me today, tomorrow, and every day going forward.
How can I put this? This is gonna be about Charlotte Jordan. So I gotta tiptoe around and making sure that she's in the chat and making sure that I'm kind of spot on with this. I just lost my train of thought. Darn it. Maybe I wasn't supposed to say it. Man, come on, man. I wanted to come back to me because I thought it was a good talking point. Coach, can you give me like 2 minutes of just anything on the topic? I know you can just keep us going for about 2 minutes if you can. Why, to see if this thought will come back to me, because either one of y'all, because I think I got something there, but I just want to make sure that I think I need to write it down.
Translation is coach talk too much. So now it's
no.
No, I think there are lessons, and I'm just being transparent when I say this. There are lessons that are taught to you, and there are lessons that are learned through observation. And unfortunately, the most difficult lessons that you learn through observation, it's going to make you, number one, be totally transparent about the individuals that you're observing. And again, you have to get to the point in your mind, right? And I'm talking about me because this is what I had to do. You have to get to the point in your mind to where you had to learn the lesson, but not blame the person. I'll say it again. Learn the lesson, but not blame the person. Once you get to that point as a young adult, once you get to that point of recognizing that the lesson was available for you to learn, and the best part of learning a lesson is that you can still have love for the person that you learned the lesson from. I think that's the thing that kind of helps you to mature in a space and exercise compassion because of the things that you may know that person didn't know at the time. Did that help?
Absolutely, I got it now.
All right.
So, growing up, I've talked about it on here, Coach's Corner, another podcast, and so I grew up, and off and on, my dad suffered with substance abuse, and I remember growing up. I remember my mom, strong, very strong. She suffered a lot. She went through a lot. And that's why I don't know, like her level of forgiveness was way up there. The stuff and the things that I saw her forgive my father for, there's no way, I don't think I could have done that until I became older. And what I did was I forgave over and over and over and over and over again. And it wasn't just me, but in my marriage, I stayed a lot longer because of I saw my mom being so strong and doing, staying in there, incident after incident, thing after thing, this go wrong, the ebbs and flows of marriages, her being young, a young parent, different things like that, taking on a lot of responsibilities. I took on a lot of that. I stayed in the marriage way longer than what I was supposed to. Not saying that her level of forgiveness is equal to my level of forgiveness, and her journey is definitely different than mine, but I saw my mom forgive and forgive and forgive. Whatever that was, I took that into my marriage, and I forgave and forgave and forgave. And I know some of that was me not being the man that I am today, but I do think some of that over forgiveness I may have gotten from home because I saw my mom, and then that's what we got in the church as well. Forgive, 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 forgive. Stay with your husband, stay with your wife, no matter what. So because that's what they were getting from the church, that's what they were doing in the home, and that's what I picked up, and that's what I took into my adulthood, and that's what I used in my marriage, that no matter what, you stay together regardless of what's going on. You guys stay together. And for some people, people will have different perspectives about that. And even as I'm talking about it, and I've been talking about it, I see it both ways. I do think that I know that forgiveness is a great thing. Forgiveness, we're all supposed to be forgiving, but that line between, well, what I'm saying is you can still forgive, but you don't have to deal with all the stuff that goes along with it. So I don't know. I say all that, I guess, to say that that's kind of some of the stuff that I picked up. A strong woman who was willing to do any and everything for her kids and her family, to the point to where you forgive and forgive and forgive. And then again, like I said, I think I picked up a lot of that stuff, and I took that into my marriage. And like I said, I think I stayed way longer than what I was supposed to. But I definitely would like you guys' perspective on that, because I don't know if I'm way off, especially with the forgiveness piece, because we're supposed to forgive. You know what I'm saying? But, on the outside looking in, I'm just like, man, wow, like, man, you should have left a long time ago. But that wasn't my marriage. That wasn't my call. That's between Charlotte Ann and Boss. That's my dad's nickname, was Boss. So that was between them. So if y'all have any perspective about that, I'd definitely like to hear it. Anybody from the chat, Charlotte Jordan, I see you in there. So if you got anything you want to add up to it, please feel free to do so.
I think the only thing I would jump in on is, I think sometimes when people listen to podcasts, they could take everything we say as an absolute, right? So what Unc said was correct for his marriage. I do believe that there can be a time to leave and to walk away. But it don't mean that if you tune into this and your marriage is rough, you just need to leave and walk away because it got rough. You don't know his whole story. You don't know why he specifically left, what took place. I do believe in a certain aspect of the long suffering, right? When we talk about marriage, because all marriages go through rockiness. All marriages go through hard times. You can be best friends today, but there's going to be a moment where he or she going to get on your nerve. All right. That don't mean you stayed longer than you were supposed to just because you heard that. And I just want to put that out there. So, when that time comes, when you feel like it's time to walk off, it is okay to go to talk with someone and identify what's going on ahead of time. Because when we start talking about scriptural aspects, if you want that perspective, we'll give you that perspective. That's not what you're looking for. And I say that because some people just don't want to stay just because they're not happy at the moment. I listened to someone, she said the hardest lesson she had to learn how to do was to be unhappily married, to get back to being happily married. Right? And I'm not saying everybody has to be unhappy for the rest of your life, right? That shouldn't be the case, but both parties have to be willing to work and have to be willing to take accountability. And accountability is not saying I did wrong, but accountability is addressing it within yourself and getting some help with making some change for the betterment of the relationship. I just wanted to add that in there, because y'all know me. I don't like stuff left out there that someone can take and run the wrong way.
You good? That's why I asked you if you had anything else to add. You good?
Run with it. Run with it. Run with it. I'm gonna throw a little mud in the window real quick.
All right.
I think too many times we hold ourselves accountable for what we know today, um, compared to what we didn't know yesterday. If I have no idea what marriage is, um, I may have seen marriage. That's about it. I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of it. I only know what I've seen. I just know that it's companionship. And let's just be honest, when you a young Thundercat, 18, 19, 20 years old, you really only get married for a couple of different reasons, bro. Let's call it what it is. The little butterflies in your stomach, puppy love, that's for starters. But that puppy love is connected to something else. That's the main reason why. Because let's just become transparent in our community. They talk about one thing and one thing mostly. You can't do this right here, right? That's the one thing you can't do. You do that right now. No, it's not just that one thing. But again, so when you look back there and say, all the things I didn't know back then, and then here all the way over here, based upon what I know now, and then I hold myself in contempt and say, I stayed way too long. Well, you stayed way too long based upon what you didn't know and what you got yourself into. And then based upon that, you were trying to make it work, but you didn't. Again, not your fault, but is your fault. You were trying to make it work based upon the work that you didn't do on the front side. So you didn't have the correct information, you didn't have the infrastructure, and you didn't have the operational know-how. But yet, I'm going to take on one of the biggest and most daunting things that I can consume myself with, even though I am still trying to figure this thing out called life on my own. So come on, girl, let's go do it so we can figure this thing out called life together. Think about it. Like you think that I'm just being transparent. Think about how nonsensical that is. And trust me, I'm speaking from, I did it too. So I'm not judging anybody. I'm saying we've all done it under the fun. That's why I keep going back to parenting. Because if I parent the right way, my kids don't feel like they need to rush into marriage. And if they don't feel like they need to rush into marriage, and because I don't kick them out the house at the age of 18, I help them to grow out the house, right? Having a great foundation. So I think when we look at those things, all those things are opportunities for us to understand differently now, teach different lessons at our ripe old age of 50s, Gaddy, you 40, so at our ripe old age, we can teach better lessons now so that our children don't make the same mistakes, so that they take the time to understand the person that they're getting into, so that they understand what the sanctity of marriage is. Then when you move into it, now you recognize that both parties are going into marriage, understanding what marriage is, and it's not for selfish individual gain.
Yep. You see, Charlotte Jan just posted some of her story. Came into the church and married at 17. That's when my mom got married. Had me at 18. So, yep. There you go, folks. Appreciate the comment, Miss Charlotte Jordan. Everybody else, again, we had an hour right now. Let's move on. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to slide over to Would You Rather segment. So I got 10 questions over here for you gentlemen. Would you rather? And if any time after we go through this segment, if you want to go back and revisit one of these things, then just let me know. If you struggle streaming tonight, coach, we got it. But we're going to work through this regardless. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and people in the chat, the first would you rather question of the night is this. Would you rather have had, I know hindsight 2020, strict parents or inconsistent ones?
I would say in hindsight, strict. But when I was a child,
I mean, given the options that you're given, I choose strict.
Yeah. But what about when you was 16?
At 16, you need strict parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you find yourself out after dark.
Yeah.
But when I was 16, I wanted parents that worked too much, so they wasn't home.
Yeah.
Right. I was just about to say, you find yourself outside after dark playing hide and go get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. We needed strict parents.
Mhm.
All right. Would you rather heal through therapy or friends?
if I'm answering this honestly, I would say therapy, right?
Mhm.
Even though friends can offer you some reprieve, friends aren't licensed. They don't necessarily understand what they're doing, and you're putting too much on them. So at the end of the day, I would probably like my friends to be able to do it, but they're not equipped to handle the therapy that you would properly need.
Mm.
I mean, I got some friends that are coaches and counselors. You know what I mean? So nah,
You had to
I,
pay me and coach. No, I'm just playing.
that's all right.
I'm not.
Yeah.
You may not have to pay full price, but I'm just telling you the truth.
There you go.
Touche.
Mhm.
but but I agree that the correct answer is therapy. But if I had a choice, if I could heal
Mm.
going through my friends, I would rather.
Mm.
Um, because maybe it's just my life, my upbringing. I guess is one of the things I haven't unlearned. But I don't trust new people. Like, if you knew, I don't trust you. You know what I mean? So there's a certain level of vulnerability you're not gonna get from me until like maybe session number 10, and by that time I'm broke. You know, from paying you. I'm just being
I'm
honest.
I'm sliding with Gaddy on this one. I'm with Coach, but I'm with Gaddy. I would rather have friends, but I'm
Mhm,
knowing that. Hold on, I'm about to slide back over to Coach right
mhm,
now. Here's
mhm.
why. Because now I'm thinking about what I'm putting on my friend. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, who am I to judge how much they can or can't handle? So I guess I'm splitting hairs. I guess I'm still in the middle right now. But man, would I rather, since I got to choose one, would you rather? Then I'm going with the therapy.
Part of the
Final
thing
answer.
part of the thing that separates the therapy from the friends is that the therapists have 0 previous understanding of who you are. So that
Mm-hmm.
makes their biases very minimal. Go with a friend, they have biases that work in on your behalf out the gate. So it's
Mm-hmm.
highly unlikely that you will get a non-biased friend who can help you through the things that you're dealing with. We would like to think that we can, right? And in our mind, like, sure, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the truth, dog. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Yeah, okay, sounds good. Until I tell you what I did,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. I get that. I get that.
I
Would you
agree
rather?
with you. I'm just
Go ahead.
saying, if I could,
Yeah.
if I could heal with the friends, but I agree with you. That's the correct answer. But
Yeah.
the question is, would I rather?
Yeah.
Nah.
I got you. I got you. Would you rather break cycles with your friends or with others? Would you rather break cycles with your friends or with others?
What kind of cycles?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it said kids. I don't like that question no more. I'm throwing it out. Let's move to the next. Would you rather confront or stay silent? Confront or stay silent?
Confront.
Confront.
That's the easy one.
Yeah.
It ain't easy for everybody. I will tell you this. It wasn't always easy for me. Back in the day, especially like certain parts of that marriage, I'm just like, man, it's better off if just don't say nothing.
So
Because it's
I,
easy. But now, hey, it got to be said.
I would say, like, I don't think it's hard for everybody, or for a lot of other people. There may be some, but I think what it is sometimes is the courage. Uh,
Mm.
when I was younger, especially when I was fighting with my attitude, right? I thought the only way to overcome my attitude was to become pretty much of a punk. I'll say, just use that term.
I
So
feel it.
I felt like silence was the opposite of arguing, because y'all already know my theology on arguing. I'm not arguing with no grown man for more than 2 seconds. I'm gonna tell you what I feel. You can tell me how you feel. We can either walk away, or one of us can apologize and rectify the situation. But we're not finna argue. So I don't know. I feel like some people would rather speak up. They just don't have the courage or the know-how to do so.
Mm. Holidays or alone? All right. Holidays or alone? Let's see if you want to give a one-word answer in the chat. Holidays or alone? Would you rather holidays with triggers or alone in peace? What I
Alone.
mean is you going to Thanksgiving, you know, everybody gonna be there as family, but it's gonna be triggers. So you staying at home, you alone in peace. Holidays, but or with triggers or alone in peace.
Bro, I didn't even need the explanation. The answer's alone.
Right. I'm with you.
Solidan said the holiday. So see, here's how I think about this. Right off the bat, I'm like alone all day long, alone. But if there's a family function and there are going to be 20 people there, and 2 of those people are triggering, do I still go and get triggered a little bit to, 10% of the time to enjoy the 90? You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering if that's what she meant by doing holidays. Is it worth some of the triggering with some of the things in our family, even though it may not give us all the peace, to kind of put ourselves in the crock pot for a day or two during the holidays? That's kind of my thoughts about it. Coach, like, heck no.
I don't think, right, but I'm saying I don't think that's what she means at all.
Okay.
You have to realize she's in a different generation. That generation looks at spending as much time as they possibly can with family while they have the opportunity to spend that time with family. And that's not wrong. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think the more mature you get, the more patience you develop. And so what used to be triggering is not necessarily triggering anymore. So I can deal with, every now and then, Uncle Cleophas get a little tipsy off the wine and get to talking junk to people right around 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Because around 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, I'm going to call it a night anyway. So I ain't going to be around that foolishness. But right around our age, we still in the space where we make that decision. Because that decision says, first and foremost, triggering looks different to us. And I'm not saying that this is triggering for them. Right. Keep in mind, I started with them because they have a massive amount of patience to deal with things, even though in our mind, we remember them from when they were young. And I like to tell my nieces and my sons and my daughters that the grandma you got right now is not the mama I had. I want you to understand that they're not the same. Right. So the patience that they have now, I'm like, oh, wow, where'd that come from? I wish I had some of that when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? Why I didn't get that grace that you just gave my niece or whatever the case may be. For us, it's like, I'm not going to deal with Uncle Cleophas because at the end of the day, we're going to end up being the one putting out the fire anyway. I ain't got time for that. I got other stuff I got to do, so forth and so on. Now, if the triggering is within me, it might be to my advantage to stay home to work on me to be a better version of myself so I don't mess up the family get together. So I think it looks different, but I understand exactly what she's saying.
I tell people all the time, I'm an early 2000 soldier. The way we used to get our battle buddies straight when they were drunk and about to ruin the function, it's not the way you want me to handle Uncle JT, whatever his name is. You know what I mean? Uncle
Cleophas.
We used to choke him out and take him back to the room. Go on, put him in bed.
You know who it is? Uncle Cleophas and Uncle James Earl.
Right.
There's always somebody.
But I agree with Coach. Like, that's a generational thing. But I'm gonna choose self. It's easy for me to choose my peace for a couple of reasons. One, I don't really do the holidays. Two, I'm not doing anything triggering on purpose. I may come by, hug, and I don't have these situations, right? But I'll go hug mama, go say hi to granny, the cousin I ain't seen in a while. Hey, what's going on, bro? But I'm here for a really short time. I'm gonna dap it up, see family, hug y'all, and I'm gonna get on back to the crib. That's just me.
Yeah, I get all of that, and Coach, definitely appreciate you for shining light and kind of clearing that up, because I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Different generations, different things. Yeah. I'm sliding over into that zone now too, to where it's worth it. Certain things that trigger me before don't trigger me no more. Like I said, when Uncle so and so start acting up, hey, we out. Hey, Shell, let's pack up. going to the house. Like, we ain't gonna be around there. We ain't been around all the drama, everybody getting drunk and started wanting to make bad decisions and stuff like that. We out. You know, I vaguely remember. I don't remember a lot of parties and stuff like that, but I remember a little bit, a couple of little things. But a lot of those things, you know, you saw the adults doing, and I was like, when I got older, I was like, oh, that's what they was doing. That's why they didn't want us around. So, yeah, definitely. Again, appreciate both of y'all's perspective and you guys think. So here we go. It's interesting. Would you rather know the truth young or an adult? Young or an adult? Would you rather know the truth young or as an
Yes.
adult?
Young.
Young?
Yes.
He said yes.
Yeah, when you said it in the beginning, would you rather know the truth young? The answer is yes.
Yes.
He said yes.
Right.
Both. He said young and adult. Okay. Would you rather show scars or hide pain?
Scars.
Show scars or
pain?
hide pain. You said
Mhm.
Scars.
scars. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scars now. You know, and I think that's a level of maturity too. I think back in the day, I'm like, man, I ain't telling you nothing. I'm keeping everything in. I'm hiding everything. Now I think showing of the scars, there's a story that comes along with those scars. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes those stories and lessons learned from those scars can be very beneficial to someone else. So I'm definitely going with the scars on this one. Would you rather forgive quickly or hold boundaries tight? I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
like that being the other option.
I don't see them being mutually exclusive of one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking it
At
out.
all. Yeah.
Ooh, so this would you rather choose peace or choose family?
Peace. That's the same question as last time to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It is. It's the holiday question.
Mhm.
I like that. Man, I like this one. We had more thoughts than this too. Sheesh, man. We only had 2 questions. Let's slide down to the I will go with the what role does the community? Let's go with that one, Nick D, please. Yeah. So here's the next question on the board. We don't have to stick with brotherhood. We don't have to stick with that. But what role does community or brotherhood play in helping men break free from childhood wounds? Or we can go with what role does community or sisterhood play in helping women break free from childhood wounds? I'm not a woman, so I won't be able to answer that. But if you want to keep this mutual, then feel free to do so.
I know Coach gonna go in on this one, so I'm gonna jump out there first. To be honest with you, I'm not gonna even say the brotherhood because the brotherhood is not responsible for me breaking free from my childhood wounds, right? And here's why I go with the community over the brotherhood specifically, right? Because the people around us, period, especially those people we've called spouse, right? And we share a household with, we share a bed with, have to create an environment for us to be vulnerable enough to be open about those childhood traumas so we can begin or childhood wounds so we can begin the process of breaking free or healing, you know. So to me, I don't think it's a big role because I'm not holding nobody responsible for me breaking free of anything, right? I have to do the work. I have to seek the help if necessary. I have to have the acknowledgement of what happened. A lot of it is on Gaddy to do his part. But the reason why I stuck to community over brotherhood, because brothers are gonna be brothers. I know if Roland in that brotherhood, he gonna crack a joke every time I open up about something, and I understand he's not judging me. He's not nothing. You know, that's just how we are. That's how men are. That's how brothers are. Now, I think when we are in a house, that's where we have to be be mindful of how we handle each other. Men and women, we have to be careful how we handle each other, because the moment you show me that I am not safe around you to be vulnerable without you mishandling it is not I don't how now do I recover from that? How now do I become you came in at the wrong time. um, how now do I come to a place to where I can start to break free from anything when in my own home I can't I have to shut down because it's not safe. So I put that's the only level of responsibility that I put out there, but that's on us as spouses. Brothers, y'all ain't got that response. I got to do that work. That's not y'all responsibility.
So I'll give Coach a couple minutes since he helped me out giving him 2 minutes earlier. Here's how I look at it. I think there's two sides of this. There's the community's responsibility to me, and then there's my responsibility to the community. Along with what you're saying, the community, the way I am as a man, I don't think the community is their responsibility and help me breaking free from any childhood wounds that I may have. However, as a 49-year-old man who will be 50 in December, I think that I have a responsibility to help men break free from childhood wounds. I can't change them, but what I can do is I can get with my brothers and create podcasts and create content that someone can listen to and learn from that may be able to help them break free from those childhood wounds. So on one sense, this is just me. I don't think that the community has a responsibility to help you. Now, it also goes into definitions on what you determine as a community and or brotherhood. I look at you guys as part of my community and part of my brotherhood. You know what I mean? And the whole iron sharpens iron thing, I'm here for you guys. I want to be able to pour into you guys any information that I got that may be able to help you. And at the same time, I am here to receive at the same time. So maybe I'm contradicting myself, and maybe the brotherhood responsibility is to pour into me too. And I think that's where I might want to stick at. Maybe it is my brotherhood's and community job to pour into me, because I should have maybe or maybe not some expectation that if I'm around Coach and Gaddy, that we should be benefiting from each other. If every time we get on the show, Coach the only one got lessons learned, Coach don't ever learn nothing from us. I'm not saying good, bad, or different. I know Coach is here to serve, and it don't affect him. But in a sense, with brotherhoods, we all should be, in a sense, bringing something to the table, and that's what has helped develop us as a community and or brotherhood in the first place. So that's kind of my thoughts on this. I think I changed my perspective as I was speaking too.
Okay, you shaking your head? No. Why's that?
No, that was me. My technical difficulties was happening just now.
Rick, I can't talk about nobody technical difficulties tonight. I don't know what AT&T got going on, but we need to have us a talk. I'm impartial on this particular question, and I explain to you why. I think for me, when it comes down to community, I may view it different than a lot of people view it, and that's okay. I think the foundation of the community is the family. I think that's where we struggle with community, because we have a disjointed perspective of family. So because our disjointed perspective of family exists, now we have a disjointed perspective of community. Until we recognize that part, then we don't necessarily believe that the community plays a part in anything. Let me say it the right way. It's just like going to the bank. I can't expect to make a withdrawal out of the bank if I never made a deposit. A lot of us want the community to pay me, but I've never paid the community. I should have made so many deposits into the community that when I need to make a withdrawal, the community is busting at the seams to help me out. I think that's it. I think a lot of times we don't make withdrawals from the community when we need to. We make it when we want to. So when we look at this, what role does the community? I'm going to eliminate the notion of brotherhood because I don't like segregating when it comes down to brotherhood, sisterhood. Push that aside. We need to stop doing that for starters. We need to focus on community. Again, I don't have a family with pure men in it. I don't have a family with pure women in it. So we need to stop doing that. That's part of our concern right there when it comes down to community. What role does the community play in helping men break free from childhood wounds? By helping them to understand that those wounds never should have been there in the beginning. Men in the community, for young men who have those wounds, are part of that group that will listen to those young brothers and pour into them, not because they're older, not because they're quote unquote smarter, but because they know that young man. They seen that young man being raised. They understood that they once went to try to talk with that family about helping with that young man, and that family probably was too prideful to receive any help from the community. So when we talk about community, we need to really peel back the onion. Stop being so infatuated about what we see on TV, or so infatuated about what we want community to look like. And we need to go back to the author, the one who gives the vision for community to exist, not the vision that we're trying to create in community, but the vision for community to exist.
Like, I like that you said that, which is why I went back and leaned on spouse, right? Because what starts the family, right? Husband and wife. That's the core of building the family. That can open up a lot of more conversations, which you're not. But I like that you went. I was pointing out to somebody the other day. I can't remember where I was. It was in the New Testament. I think I was reading about Zechariah and Elizabeth, and you saw that she was in the outer court. And where was he at? He was in the temple working. That was so. It's not like he escaped to go hang with the brothers, and she went to go hang out with the sisters and do all of that. She was in the outer court of the temple while he was in the temple working. They were together. And I think what we don't realize, and Coach, when you said it, it just jumped right in my mind when you started talking about this brotherhood, sisterhood. That is the core nucleus for bad behavior. The sisterhood and the brotherhood, all we do, we come together and we justify bad behavior amongst each other, and then wonder why we can't come together and agree on what a man and what a woman is supposed to be in a home, is because we over here siding with each other simply because of our anatomy. And that does nothing. Or that's all we do. We just, oh no, man, but we men. So, that's why we look at things. No, it was wrong because it was wrong. The woman, it was wrong because it was wrong. And I don't really see that accountability being taken when we're in a one gender grouping. No.
And I like y'all perspectives on that. We're gonna do again, folks. Thank y'all for being here. We're gonna wrap it up here shortly. We got one scenario question, and then we're gonna jump into our final thoughts, and then we're gonna let you guys go on and enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. With that being said, here's the scenario: a man has a parent. So this is a real life scenario. Somebody I know, somebody I've definitely talked to about. So hey, there you go, Coach.
I got
man
mine
has a
already.
parent, huh?
I got mine already.
Oh, he already got his answer. Here we go. A man has a parent who's always guilt trips him about not calling enough, even though he has a busy life, busy family life, which means this guy's probably old and got a wife and kids or something. With the healthiest way to respond? What's the healthiest way to respond without falling into guilt?
You can call me too.
You say, are you trying to say that the phone works both ways?
It absolutely does.
There you go. Coach, it was short.
That's it.
Yep, 5 words. The phone works both ways.
I swear I was starting right there. I swear.
I started in there.
And Yeah. The only reason why I don't have a good callback habits is because when I first joined the military, I first moved away from home, I was always initiating phone calls, calling everybody, calling back if they didn't answer. They weren't available. I called back. I knew they started learning their schedule so I can call during their time. Then I started realizing when I went to the field, I came back, I ain't had no missed calls. Something started clicking. Oh, they think the phone only worked one way. And then when I didn't call, I started getting messages. Oh, so you don't know nobody no more? I was calling y'all these first 3 years. Y'all wasn't calling me. And that, to me, that changed the cycle for me. Like, and then secondly, never mind. I stopping in right there. Because yeah.
Man, I see it. I'm kind of where Coach at on this. Man, it phone work both ways. Like, look, and then nowadays we take these things everywhere. You know, before we kind of had an excuse when you had to, you know, call ATT and call people collect and stuff like that. Nowadays, all you gotta pick that joke up, and I know you got it. You got it with you all day long. People nowadays, they ain't living without it. So if I'm trying to figure out why you want me to call you every day. You see, I got a whole family over here, and what don't you have going on in your life to where you want me to call you every day? Where your man at? You should already have your man. That's what I'm just saying.
I don't even get into the conversation about who you got in your life. I feel like we can compare schedules any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Any day of the week. And I'm not trying to say that what you're doing is meaningless. That's not what I'm saying. Right. But at the end of the day, if the end state is talking, then don't be so proud to pick up. Don't be so proud that you can't pick up the phone. I think that's part of the issue that we see going back to this conversation. A lot of ego exists when it comes down to dealing with your adult child. Pick up the phone and call the child. I promise you, they'll be happy. Oh, great. Look who called me today. They'll be excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because in their mind, the only time they talk is when you initiate the phone call anyway.
Yep. Dang, he owned it with that one. 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do right now, we are getting ready to transition over into our final thoughts, and then we're going to be out. And I am going to start tonight. Y'all ready? Here we go. A lot of great conversations tonight. A lot of great comments from the chat, all those good things. I want to end with saying this. Sometimes we may not always know, excuse me, most of us on this platform, either watching this, have been in two different roles. Some of our lives we spent as parents, and some of our lives we have spent as children. Some of us are still in both of those dual roles. And I would say that, you know, we've all learned things growing up, and we are still learning things. We're still evolving. We're still growing. We're still trying to be better versions of ourselves. And I would say to anybody out there who is in a toxic or manipulative relationship with your parent, to really, or a child, to really look at why the relationship is what it is. And Coach said something earlier, and he just talked about looking at the person in the mirror. You know, why is it that that relationship is toxic? You know, are you the person who's always wanting your person to call you? You know what I mean? Or, you know, what part do you play in that relationship with whoever this person may be, whether it's a parent, whether it's a child, or whatever like that? So, you know, I would just ask you to just look at your relationship. If you have a toxic relationship with someone, especially if it's a parent, you know, some of us, it seems like we're in our 30s and our 40s and 50s and stuff like this. And some of our parents are in their 60s and 70s and stuff. And, you know, their time is coming, and you know, then ours is right after them. So what type of legacy, we can go back to watch some shows about that. what type of legacy do we want to leave behind when it comes to who we were as a person and who those people are, you know? So that's kind of my 2 cents and my final thought for this evening. And we're gonna slide over to the next person.
Man, I love this conversation. Thank you, Unc, for the questions and this topic. You went in on this. I would say when it comes to parenting, especially when we talk about manipulation, I see it a lot in adults. We hear the arguments, we see the videos, whatever the case may be, but there's no void in your marriage or lack thereof that your child can replace. A lot of times, even when we talk about the phone calls, the overcalling, or what have you, or not respecting the family that the child has, you can't live and recreate the life you didn't have without a husband or a wife through your children's family. Let them live theirs. Be a mentor. Be someone they can call when they need advice, right? Let them know the things that you did right that you didn't do right, so that they can avoid those mistakes. There's some things I believe that when we have the proper relationship with our children as parents, when they grow up, they won't necessarily have to relearn all the mistakes that we did. That's only because there's this level of hyper independence that we put on our child. When you're 18, you're a man, get out. When you're 18, you're a girl, get out. And it's almost as if they don't have you to lean on going forward. So instead of manipulate them, help them learn these life lessons, be a mentor to them so that they don't have the same cycles that your generation had in marriage and when it comes to relationships. So we can do better. I think when we start talking about ending cycles, I think we're already, killing some cycles. Some, it seems like this generation now, we're creating new ones, but we need that help for as a young man still navigating parenting and relationships, whatever the case may be. I wish my mother and my father were still here to give me sound advice. I wish they did give me sound advice, right? But if you're there with your adult children, be that. They need that. Let them know that they can reach out. And that's all I got.
I thoroughly love this conversation. I greatly appreciate everybody's point of view as it comes down to it. Again, love what the chat was saying. I mean, the comments they were saying in the comment section as well. I think we have to go back and understand what we mean when we say toxic, because a lot of times we look at the term toxic and we think something that kills, and that's not necessarily true. Toxic can also be something that harms. And so when you really stop and think about it, as you go back through your lifespan, I know a lot of us were existing in the space of parenthood at a very young age. And so you did what you knew based upon what you saw growing up. But then until you realized that the things that you knew based upon what you saw growing up was not necessarily healthy for the child, by that time, it probably was too late because you was already doing it. So the first thing that I believe that we have to get to the point of doing is, number one, especially for the ones who have children right now, the Bible tells us clear, train them up in the ways that they should go. So when they get older, they do not depart. That's step one. Like, we have a responsibility to train that child, not because it makes it easier for me, but because it is for them to develop professionally and personally. Then when they get older, what you want to do is give them responsibility as well. That way, that's part of the additional training. Training should not look the exact same way when they're in their adolescent years as it does in their teenage years. So give them some responsibility so that they can grow in that training. When they become adults, stop acting like they're still children. Let those adults be full-grown adults and exercise the decisions that they're supposed to make in their adulthood. Advise them. That's number 4. Advise them accordingly. Don't think that you're the primary decision maker, and please don't get mad when they don't take your advice, because at the end of the day, advising is what you're responsible to do. And then one of the things I think that we don't do a really good job at collectively, once they get of a certain age, pass the torch to the family, to them, so that you can be in that road to help them based upon the way that they're trying to take the family. And that being said, that is my final thoughts.
Definitely appreciate everybody's perspective, all the conversations here tonight. Definitely super shout out for the snap forward, but to the chat. for everything and every single letter that was typed in there tonight. Definitely added a lot of great value to this conversation tonight. So really appreciate you for that. Gentlemen, do you have anything else before we roll up out of here? Again, and appreciate you guys for staying with us for an extra couple minutes. Definitely appreciate that. Y'all got anything else?
I will share. And we talked about it in the comments on Tuesday, but look in the show notes. The show notes is where we extend value beyond the stage, right? Crystal Everett has written her book and has been published. Actually, she's done 2 of them, to be honest with you. So that's what we do in the community. We support. So mine is on the way. One of them came today. The other one will be here on Monday. So check the show notes and find her book. And again, it's 2 of them, and one will link you to the other one. So don't be shy, don't be bashful and shy. Let's go and support our sister and let her know that we appreciate all of the efforts that she's done. So just want to share that.
What's it called? I'm looking for it right now, so I can buy it.
Life lessons.
Life lessons.
Right, and then life lessons will take you to the children book as well.
Okay, Discover Life Lessons. Boom, got it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do one better. Here we go. Before we roll out, I'll just drop it again in the chat for y'all. So now you ain't got no excuse. You click on it, go over there and buy that book. I'm gonna buy it too. So with that being said, again, appreciate all y'all. Appreciate everybody. When is the next show? Tomorrow morning? Anything going on?
So
Nope, nothing tomorrow.
Nothing tomorrow, but we do have
Bible
TikTok.
study on Sunday.
We have Bible study on Sunday, TikTok on Sunday, and then Coach's Corner on Tuesday.
There you go. Bruh, look, I'm telling y'all, if y'all missed Coach's Corner last week, I know some of y'all saw it. Y'all had ended. Look, that was a good one. Y'all see part 2 of it this week. So if you didn't see part 1 of Coach's Corner, go back and watch it, because part 2 is going to be this Tuesday. So with that being said, everybody, again, thank y'all for being here. We are out.